What could go wrong? I see everything, like you ordering from Dorkside Toys. Okay, people, welcome back to another Fwoosh review. Today we're taking a look at the Hasbro Marvel Legends Build-A-Figure Thor Avengers Endgame Infinity War, Civil War, whatever wave. Just like usual, I got the whole wave at the same time. Might as well open them all up and take a look at them at the same time, right? I can't wait. I want them all out. I want to see the Build-A-Figure. I want to have them on the shelf. That's what it breaks down to. Once again, special thanks to Dorkside Toys. I was in on the first shipment of these. I got my pre-orders in, and I received them. Right now, they're still shipping them out, so if you haven't received yours, you will. In this wave, we get a redo of Avengers 1 Captain America, which, if you've seen Endgame, you know how this plays out. Valkyrie in new costume from Avengers Endgame, and I think the end of Ragnarok, right? Iron Man Mark 85? Is that 85? We finally get Heimdall. I mean, we needed him since the first Thor movie. We get a redo of Vision from those who missed the 2-pack that went away with Toys R Us. And then a redo of Iron Patriot in the actual colors and sculpt. And you know what? Now that I'm looking at all these are all figures we already have, except for Heimdall. He's the only brand new character. I think I realized that when I pre-ordered the wave, but it's new Marvel Legends. It's just like, okay, click. Big window shows everything in the package. On the side, we get artwork of each character, very nicely done. On the back, same thing, along with a bio of each character and all the other characters in the series, then the Build-A-Figure Thor. On the top, all Avengers logos. On the bottom, legalese, barcodes. I'm going to start getting these open. Which one am I? I'm going to start with Captain America. Oh, what's this fill out? It looks like legalese in a bunch of different languages, and then also in a bunch of different languages is don't put it in your mouth. It's hard. What am I trying to say here? It's hard not to feel nostalgic about this, not only because of the costume being a throwback, but the actual feel of the action figure being a throwback. Because it is complete reuse of the old Avengers 1 Captain America figure. And this has been a while back, and this being as old as it is at this point, which it's unbelievable to think of this as old. When I was messing with the new one, I was running into some things. I was like, oh wait, why'd they do that? Oh, that's how they used to do it. Things like the hinge in the shoulder being open all the way around to the other side. Same thing for the hips being open out there, although that does give you the range that Legends used to have. It's still kind of ugly sticking out right there. Plus, you had to deal with the ball shape of shoulders and hips. They just don't look as good as modern hips, but they did take that old costume, put it into more muted colors. As you can see, the old one was bright blue, bright red, bright white, and I think that was accurate, but with a more modern aesthetic, you kind of dull them down a little bit, and I don't know. I think this is more pleasing on the shelf. It's not so garish as the other one. But that's not to say the old one was a bad sculpt in itself, because, I mean, it had all kinds of sculpted detail. At the time this first came out, it was like, holy shit, they nailed Captain America. It's muscular without looking too muscular. It's detailed. It has all the textures it needs, the wrinkles, the pockets. And besides the colors themselves, they came in with detailed paintwork, like on these lines right here that weren't on the first one. The buckles on the belt, the silver parts of the gloves, the silver running up and down on the red stripe in the middle. But then the original one has that different color for the undersuit, where this one is just the same blue color. Which one's accurate? I don't know. I should research this stuff before I get on camera, but I didn't. But like I said, at this point, some of the articulation is a little bit antiquated, and I never like these boots being curled up right here. It makes it a little bit harder to stand, of course. For some reason, with the original, it always tried to roll on you. This new one, they stabilized it a little bit. I don't know how or why, because it's the exact same boot with a little extra color on it. Maybe they changed the detents in it. Maybe they changed the positioning. I don't know, but he's easier to stand, and I'm good with that. But once you get up to the head, you realize, oh, it's not 100% reuse of that Avengers 1 Captain America. Definite difference here. This head actually comes from the Quantum Suit Captain America, and it's the same sculpt, but it looks like it may be a little bit thinner. I don't know if that's done with paint or it is actually a new sculpt based on the original sculpt, something, but you can tell that the new one is a little bit narrower in the face. But it has all the same details when it comes to the cowl. So I don't know. Either way, this looks nice on this figure. It makes the neck look a little bit long, but then you go watch the movie and that's realistic. But going over articulation, which, before I get into that, detents are super tight on this thing. It needs to be worked over a little bit. There's a hinge in the neck with a ball in the top. He can look up this far. Looks down. Not a lot of movement to the ball right there. It's just kind of stuck on there. So not a lot of tilt, unfortunately. Swivel. Shoulder hinges all the way up. Remember those days? Swivels around, rotation at the bicep. Double elbow, sculpt of the glove kind of gets in the way right there, but not bad at all. Swivel at the glove, but that sure doesn't make up for the lack of a wrist. Nice ball joint in the mid-torso. Hinge and swivel hip comes up, well, past 90 a little bit. Look at back. Again, another throwback. Get it? Back. Hinges out past 90. Rotation at the thigh. Double knee. Oh, not quite. Hinge at the ankle goes, whoa, all the way back. Forward, not bad. And then forward facing pin for rocker. We also get a newer style shield with this Captain America. The original one was kind of small, kind of undetailed. I think it was accurate. I can't remember if the original didn't have the lines in the star, but I'm good with a bigger shield. I'm good with a shinier shield. It's more in line with, again, that quantum suit Captain America. Has the 2 hoops on the inside. Let's slip it on. A little tight, but that means it's going to stay on there. It's not going to slide off his arm once you get it on. Also, I forgot to mention this belt is a loose piece. For those of you who hate when it rides up, you may want to glue that down, but it does, for the most part, like to stay down over the pants. Height-wise, cap stands at about, well, almost 6.5 inches. Oh, getting it away from me a little bit. The detail from here to here is actually softened up. It's sharper and more apparent on the original, which makes sense for what, an 8-year-old, a 10-year-old mold? How old is Avengers 1 now? For comparison, here he is with those 2 Captain Americas that he steals parts from. I don't care for this figure at all. It's not Cap's shape. It's not Cap's size. I like the original Avengers Captain America for a long, long time, except for the feet. For some reason, this works even better for me. I like it better than whatever Captain America this is. I like this costume. It just seems a little bit thin. But it is hard to beat the Walmart exclusive Marvel Legends Endgame Captain America. Next up, let's take a look at Vision. Okay, don't even try to pull the cape out the front unless you have some kind of scissors or something. Drag that out the back and then put the head back on. Okay, I get what Hasbro was trying to do here, and I really got to give it up to them for getting Vision back out on the market because, like I said, that 2-pack was kind of hard to find, but I don't feel like this is as good as the original Vision. As you can see, it's complete reuse, but it is updated with a semi-transparent plastic so you can kind of see through parts and pieces of it, especially when the light is shining through it. But what gets me with this is the paint just isn't as nice as that original release. And when it comes to straight up reissues, I'm used to the paint usually being a little bit crisper, a little bit updated, I don't know, a little bit better. And I understand it's the translucency that's making the colors here just duller, just not as exciting as the original. And really, they did a good job of making it see-through a little bit, but you don't see the joints. That's my big thing most of the time when we get a figure that you can see through. You can see all the engineering inside it. It kind of kills what they're going for with it. Here, it does actually work. He looks a little bit ethereal. But when it comes to the gold paint, it's just a little bit sloppy. It doesn't really follow the shapes. It's even worse on the head. It kind of bleeds over into the peakish parts. I mean, comparing the two, very sharp over here. This is just kind of doing its own thing in places. Not even mentioning the eyes. I had to go through several 2-packs on the original Vision to get one that's kind of looking to the side. In fact, I kind of liked it like that. It kind of changes it up. It looks like he's contemplating something. He's listening, but he's also thinking about it. On this new one, on top of the plastic being shiny and translucent, you kind of lose some detail because the light just bounces off of it. The eyes are also a little bit wacky. The left eye, not bad. It's looking straight, but then you get to the right eye and it's boop. I'm okay with it looking in different directions. I just want them to look in the same direction. The other thing is the cape. There is a peg in the back that you can push in so it won't flop around. But once you do that, the front of it floats away from the torso and you get this big gap. On the original, I glued it down. It's pegged in. It looks good. It's hanging there. It's staying there. So that's not a huge, difficult fix right there. You just blob some glue on, boop, hold it down. You're good to go there. Now, I know that's a lot of gripes. That's a lot of personal opinion, actually. I don't care for the translucent look, but it works for what it is. It makes him look like he's kind of immaterial, like he's passing through something. Because on the shelf, it looks like a good Vision. Going over articulation, there is a hinge at the neck. Can look up, looks down. Tight ball, so not a lot of tilt, but there's some swivel. Arm hinges up, around, rotation. Double elbow all the way up. Oh, and that's another thing I run into. These hands, gonna need some heat. Hinge at the wrist, also rotates. Hinge in the torso, good crunch. Really good arc back. Swivel at the waist. Ball coming out to the hip comes up to almost 90. Back, not bad at all. Out, decent. Very tight swivel at the thigh. Double knee. Oh, he can pass through his own ass. Hinge at the ankle goes all the way back. Nice forward. And then forward facing pin for rocker. For accessories, he doesn't really come in. I guess you could call the cape an accessory. Kind of wish he came with the fists of the original Vision, because these splayed out hands, while fitting for Vision, basically I'd like to see some options here, especially since they were already made. Or at least a grip hand, right? For Mjolnir. Vision stands at 6 3/16 tall. Here he is with the Marvel Legends Scarlet Witch. This is the one with the better face printing tech. This is the one on my shelf. And then, of course, here he is with that Vision from the 2-pack. But once you get him next to the Infinity War Iron Man and the Endgame Captain America, he seems a little bit small, a little bit thin. Next up is the intimidating looking Iron Patriot. Oh! Double trade for extra accessories. Okay, full disclosure, when this was announced or shown at the last San Diego Comic-Con, I thought, was Iron Patriot even in the movie? At that point, I hadn't seen it since the theater, and that last little bit was so dark that I didn't realize he was in Iron Patriot colors. And then I spent the rest of the show thinking, well, it's just a repaint of the War Machine we got earlier. Nope, not quite true either. It's new forearms. On the War Machine, there was a hole on the back for the gun. On the new one, there's a gun already right there, and then it opens up and it looks like some kinds of barrels on both sides of the forearm. Also get a new upper torso piece. This is much more detailed, I think more accurate to the movie. It's especially apparent on the back. You hear it's kind of just a couple of turbines. The X right there is at the gas tank. Here you have all kinds of vents and holes and other kind of dilly thingies. The heads are the same. The biceps and shoulders are the same, even these covers right here. The lower torso is the same. The legs are the same, except on Iron Patriot, it's been retooled to accept this, whatever these are, rocket launching things. But if you take it out, there's a slot. So as far as I'm concerned, these are part of the figure. And then we get a new foot with Iron Patriot. On War Machine, it was more of like a big boot. Here, we see this a lot in Transformers and such. I like the look. It's planted. Now, I can't say this is completely accurate. You know me. I'm not going to do any research before I actually start yakking on this thing. But it looks like Iron Patriot from the movie now that I've seen it a couple times. And I've seen a lot of comments of, oh man, the colors on this just so ugly. Why'd they do this repaint of this? Why'd they use Iron Patriot? But, what? It's a comic book movie. It works. Looking at the sculpt, everything is nice and sharp and detailed and mechanical, and it totally works. Even integrating new parts with the old parts, you can't tell. If you bought this first, you would have thought, oh, this was all made for this. But I know some people aren't fans of the swirly twirly plastic, the marbleized look to the metal. I like it. It comes across as kind of weird, maybe, kind of magical. But at the same time, it gives it a shine. It gives it a different look from just straight up metal paint job. Would I like to see this in gloss blue and red and shiny chrome silver? Yeah. But for a $20 action figure, this isn't bad at all. Especially the tampo work on the shoulders right here. Just a nice job. Nice and clean. They're stuck on there. They do their job. But remember, this is a big clunky armor. So going over articulation, there is what's going on up there. There's a hinge up at the neck with a ball joint on top, but looking up, it's only about that far. There's just too much back here. Going forward, about that far, not really down. But the best tilt we've seen so far, so there's something. These shoulders, I had forgotten what these are actually made of, so when I first looked at it, I thought, nope, that's not moving, but whoop. The shoulder covers are actually a rubber piece attached down low, so when you move the shoulder, it gets up out of the way. Rotates around. There is swivel at the bicep under there, but there's also a swivel at the elbow. The elbow hinges right there. Again, there's just too much going on here. The hand hinges, swivels. Ball joint at the torso does get you a little bit forward, not a lot back. Not bad tilt though. Then swivel. Ball coming out to the hip comes forward. Back, not bad. Out, Swivel at the thigh, nicely hidden within the armor sculpting. Double knee, oh, tough detents. There's no way this is coming all the way up. Look at that armor plate right there. Yep, that's about as far as it'll go. For the foot, the peg comes forward at an angle down through here, but that's the only place it's attached for this big a foot. If you push forward, you start seeing gap right there, so don't get cranking too far. But because of all this chunkiness, there's no back to it whatsoever. Actually do get a little bit of rocker. For accessories, like I talked about, these do come off, but they'll never come off. He comes with two, let's call them rocket arrays. They're little itty bitty missiles in there, and those plug into the back. There are different hole sizes here. You can't plug the bigger peg into the smaller hole up there. They have to go in this one. He does come with 2 of those. Looking from the front, they look so well integrated into the overall piece. By themselves, you can rotate up, get them just here. There's not a lot of other movement to it. There are more holes, and that comes with some kind of, I don't know what this is, a railgun of some kind with some kind of drum. And 2 of these fit into the other 2 holes. And that gets the look even closer to just what I would call, you know, I don't know what anybody else calls it, but I would call it a war machine. To the top of the head, Iron Patriot stands at 7 inches. To the top of the guns is about 7.5. Here it is with the Marvel Legends Infinity War Iron Man, and then that first War Machine. They look so good together. I'm going to have to start a War Machine armory or something. And then next to Rescue and Captain America, Iron Patriot is just an intimidating looking big honkin' armor. And speaking of armors, let's look at the Mark 85 Iron Man from Endgame. Okay, to go even further into the truth realm, I can't tell a lot of difference between all the Iron Man armors. I know the big differences, but when it comes to subtle things, I'm just oblivious to it. It's Iron Man. You know, it's gold, it's red, it has the arc reactor, it has some armor. I'm good, usually, with Iron Man. But this, it kind of brought Iron Man back, I don't know, from armor. There's a lot more human characteristics to this one. And you know what? Mostly it's the shoulders. I don't know why that sticks out at me. I automatically go, oh, that's 85. It doesn't have red shoulders. Or there's no shoulder pads or anything. This one just, I don't know. It seems more like a skin. It just seems like a layer of Tony. Oh, that sounds kind of weird. You know what I mean. But the overall sculpt here totally works for Mark 85. I mean, it has the smoothness to it. Also, you don't see the swirly twirly plastic here. Was just talking about that with Iron Patriot. Get to here, and most of this is painted on, and honestly, the golds look really nice. Sure, you don't see yourself in a reflection or anything, but it's gold. Same goes for the red. It could be candy red, it could be highly reflective, but it still gives a metal presence to it. But what I really like about this armor is the silver inlays here and there. It just breaks it up while looking kind of like musculature, kind of enhancing the overall look. It just breaks it up nicely. Otherwise, it just seems like a natural progression of the Iron Man armor. It's supposed to get less and less clunky. I did have a problem with this thigh swivel. It was gapped up out of the package, and it was right here, and it was stuck as hell. I was almost scared to turn it. I was almost going to do the review with it turned like that the whole time. But thankfully, after working a little bit, it came loose. And as it came loose, it also lost the gappiness. So I don't know what happened there. There may have been a piece of plastic. It may have been something else. I don't know. But it's working now, if not a little tight. I dig how the inner part of the double elbow is sculpted right there to look like that. I kind of feel like it should be this silver color. I don't know why. It just feels like that continues on to there and comes around. But at the same time, it's unobtrusive. In fact, oh, okay. The silver pin is here. The red pin is there. That's why it's showing on the inside like that. Just one of those things. They're up on the face printing tech. Now they have to get to where they can mold parts and pieces in 2 different colors. Articulation, there is a hinge at the top of the neck. Not so much a ball joint though. Looks up okay. Down, not so much. No tilt because no ball. That's weird. Swivel. Arm hinges up, around. Bicep, double elbow. How far does this go? Oh, not bad at all. Hinge. Swivel. Ball joint in the mid-torso, gets you good range. Ball out to the hip, doesn't quite make 90. Back, not too much. Good out though. It's almost like, hey, we didn't give you forward and back, let's go out with it. Swivel at the thigh. Double knee. Oh, not quite. Not gonna make it. Good range though. Hinge back, hinge forward. Forward facing pin for rocker. For accessories, Iron Man comes with 2 fists, and then he has 2 open palms. The difference here being, a lot of these we've been seeing lately haven't been hinged at the wrist. These are, but it's a weird kind of hinge kind of on the back of the hand. So you can't go this way with it, but you can go full on that way with it. I'm thinking they took that articulation away for a while because of the hole in the hand. It was too close to the hinge part of it, so there wasn't enough plastic, safety standards, or weakness or something. Them putting the hinge on the back of the hand away from that hole, I think that's why we're seeing it again. We get 4 of these blast effects. I love these things. They just work so well. It's actually 2 separate pieces. You can take this blasty part off of it if you want just a straight blast. And that fits in the hand or it fits in the foot. And then an accessory I didn't expect, but when they showed it at San Diego Comic-Con, I thought, oh, well, that's pretty obvious, but pretty damn cool, too. We get the Hero Infinity Gauntlet from the movie. It's for the right hand. Very nice. It follows the same paint scheme as the Iron Man figure. The red is painted on. You see the gems all on the back, and it's 2 separate pieces to plug into the Build-A-Figure Professor Hulk figure. You take the hand off. The top part fits snugly over his forearm, and then you just plug in the hand part. And that just works great. They either planned this ahead of time, or the Hulk was engineered nicely enough to be able to bring this in afterwards. And I know this isn't what he looked like whenever he had this on, but still. Iron Man stands at a little under 6.5 inches tall, which is pretty much the exact same size as the Marvel Legends Infinity War Iron Man, and then maybe a little bit big for the Marvel Legends Endgame Captain America. But still fudgeable. I always go back to, it's a dude in a suit of armor. It's going to add a little bit to it, right? But here it is with some earlier armors from both Figma and SH Figuarts. Next up, what looks like a very nice update to Valkyrie. Ooh, and definitely an upgrade. I think I love this figure. Let's take the cape off because it's going to get in the way, but we'll come back to it, talk about that in a minute. Everything about this figure is updated from the first. We got the first one in a 2-pack. You can see that they're about the same height, which usually when it comes to Marvel Legends, I say, oh, it's Asgardian. They're going to be a little bit bigger. But they did fix the scale a little bit. You can see her head is smaller while the details are a lot better. It's a closer Tessa Thompson likeness. The arms have been thinned out a little bit, but her overall proportions are still tough looking. And that's on top of her getting a completely unique sculpt in order to bring that second costume across. The random armor plates on top of a nicely textured body. Just look close up at some of these parts right here. It's just so geometric. And then the way the gold looks on top of the white, and then the blue. I just watch the movies. I don't pay that close attention, I guess, until I get an action figure in my hand, and then I go, oh, well, that's nifty. It misses a little bit right there, but overall, it's fairly clean. I also like how they integrated these, I don't even know what to call them, these side things that come down over the hip. It makes for a very nice silhouette, but they also get out of the way when you want them to. I guess they're just pinned here and here because there is a slight rotation to it. You can still get full leg movement, and then it works its way back down to just, I don't know. It's nice at hiding the hip joint there. And then I mentioned the likeness. Very nicely done here. It kind of looks like Rihanna at some angles, but for the most part, this is Valkyrie. I have a little bit of shine right there from something, some stray glue, because it goes up into the hair too. But a much needed update. Oh, there's gloss on this side too. It's got to be stray glue from putting the hair down on top of the head. Such good photo reel to the eyes though. Also, the hair sculpt here is amazing. The way it all just bunches up and comes around down into these 2 braids right here. Those are softer materials, so they don't get in the way. The neck joint did have a lot of paint caked on it. I had to take the head off, work that to get it moving, but it has nice range up. Can bury the chin. Ball joint gives you a decent amount of tilt. Swivel, even with that armor plate right there, it goes into the torso so you can swing the arm up to there. Around, hinge and swivel elbow does come up to there. That's further than some of the double joints in this wave. Then that swivels, hinge and swivel at the wrist, sword holding hand should have been up and down. Ball joint in the torso gets good range, but if you go too far back, you can actually see the inner workings there. I'm never going to pose her like that. But even though she doesn't get a lot of crunch, still opens up in the back right there. Kind of talked about the hips. It's a ball coming out to the leg. This gets out of the way so you can come up to here. Back, not bad. Out, not the greatest. Swivel at the thigh. Double knee. Oh, kicks her own Asgardian. Hell, technically goes past if you want it to. Ankle hinges back. Nice forward. But because of the high heel, the pin is essentially going straight down, so you only get rotation. Not a lot of rock there. For accessories, like I said, she has a cape. It has 2 kind of shoulder pads. It's meant to be sweeping out to her left. It looks nice with all the wrinkles and stuff, and once you plug it in, it does stay in place for the most part. Shoulder pads do seem to sit on her shoulders. It kind of sweeps out. Doesn't just fall off. But then she comes with her sword. I think this is a reissue. It's got kind of a... you can already see the problem I'm going to have with this. You get kind of a stone look to it because of the marbleized plastic and the color. It almost looks like, hey, this is a gem sword. But it does come with a sheath too. It's almost as rubbery as the blade. And look at the... But just like the first Valkyrie, there's no place to put this on the body. It's just her holding it. Definitely gonna have to get some heat after that though, because that is what? Valkyrie stands at 6¼ inches tall, which is just a little bit shorter than the first Marvel Legends Valkyrie, but a lot shorter than the Marvel Legends Ragnarok Thor. I've talked about it in other videos. The Asgardians, I'm okay with them fudging their size up a little bit, but man, this Thor is big. I feel like the Mezco Ragnarok Thor is a little bit better representation of his true size. Maybe a little bit short, but it's better than him towering way over both Loki and Valkyrie. And then here she is with the Marvel Legends Grandmaster, and again, the Walmart exclusive in-game Captain America. Or the Avengers 1 Captain America. I don't know, I'm liking this more and more. And then lastly, for the single carded figures, there is Heimdall. Finally, a very nice execution for a much needed character. We've needed this on the shelf for a long time, but it's very scene specific, and unfortunately the costume lends itself to a little bit of traffic coneness. I'm completely cool with Heimdall having this big, chunky cape thing, and the way he's wearing it reminds me of Heimdall. I mean, that's how he wore it in the movie. Unfortunately, because this is plastic and how much this covers, it pretty much kills the right arm completely. Most of the torso, most of the left arm, the range of movement there is pretty much there and there. Definitely not sitting down. But standing on the shelf like this, he looks like a badass. It's just not a lot of action here. So we'll pull this off. We'll take a look at what's going on. But to get that out of the way, it is a nice sculpt. The wrinkles, the texture to it, it looks a little worn. Has the red lines going through it. It has the clasp up here on the front. The hood looks great hanging here. It's just its own entity on top of another entity. I may have to go searching for some third-party cloth goods here. Oh, and because I just noticed it, let's talk about the sword. It's reissued. I think this is the same one we got in the 2-pack with Thor and Valkyrie. Nice detail work on the handle, the gold, the brown, the silver of the blade. I just bent that, but it's kind of straight. It's a thicker material though, so when I heat this up, straighten it out, it'll stay. But it looks like you can sheath it right through there. That's awesome. I did not know about that. I'm getting all out of order talking about accessories first. But getting to the actual figure, underneath all that cape, there is a nice body. It seems a little bit thin in the arms, but realistic. You know what I mean? You get used to action figures being big and buffy. You get to an action figure that's not, and it kind of throws you, kind of like Captain America's neck again. Good texture to the whole torso. It looks like a worn shirt. Down to the pants, there's some wrinkles, and then he has boots that are actually, I like those. Some padding on the left arm, just some wrap on the right, and then this strap going over down to the belt. It likes to move around. It is loose, but you can put it into a position that looks pretty good. This pouch likes to stick off to the side though, and that's not thin material, so you can't just boop, boop, boop. But like the package said, this is Infinity War, and you can see some battle damage right here. There's a slice through the shirt. You can see blood underneath. Same thing goes for this cut on the arm. That's actually sculpted in. There's no removing the red paint, and then you have just a bare arm. I can't find any more damage, but that stuck out at me. As soon as I see it, I was like, oh, well, he's been stabbed. The body's pretty good, but the head is where this figure shines. As it should. Most of the time when we see Heimdall, no, don't get me wrong, he kicks some ass, but at the same time, he's usually pondering. He's usually watching. He's usually thinking. And this head sculpt nails it. Everything works, but it's the eyes. And again, that's what you think of when you think of Heimdall. They're just staring into your soul. Can you feel it? He sees everything. You should be ashamed of yourself. And there is a little bit of gray to the hair. Some dry brush here and there. It's very subtle. You have to go looking for it. And it helps bring out the detail of the hair sculpt itself. Quit doing that. So while we still have the cape off, there's a hinge at the top of the neck going up into a ball. Can look up that far. Buries the chin. Pretty good tilt. Swivel. Arm swings up past 90. Around. Bicep. Double elbow comes all the way up. I nearly broke the peg trying to go side to side, but it is up and down for his sword carrying hand. Swivel. Ball in the torso. Good range, but you notice the strap kind of slides off. Ball in the hip. Goes forward. Back. Out. Swivel at the thigh. Double knee. So very close. I can force it, but that's about natural right there. Hinge at the ankle goes back, goes forward just a little bit, and then forward facing pin for some rocker. I already talked about the accessories, and I went out of order, so I'm feeling kind of lost right now, but here they are all on him, and I like this. The sword may be at a kind of a weird angle, but it's a big honking sword. It's going to hang where it wants to hang. It's just cool they made a place for it to go, and it's not really obtrusive. Out of there, you can't hardly tell that there's a hole for it. Well, I guess you could bring the hand up to there. Oh, the hands aren't soft either. There you go. A little bit of action for you. But look at the size. Hey, is my sword big enough? Cool. Heimdall stands at about 6 5/8. Here he is with the Marvel Legends Loki and Thor, and then the Marvel Legends Valkyrie from this wave, and the 2-pack Korg with a custom meek. And then to finish this review up, let's build the Build-A-Figure Thor, or Thorbowski, or Bro Thor, or whatever people call him. It's just Thor. I'm going to take this jacket off so I can get to the legs. Plug that to there. Surely it's meant to go there. Put the robe back on under the hood. I like that the hood piece is stuck right here on the front, so I'm not going to lose that. Plug the left arm in. Got to get behind the camera strength. Get in there. Right arm in. Then we have two head choices. Sunglasses, no sunglasses. I'm definitely putting sunglasses on here. Not that this is permanent or anything, but yeah. And altogether, it is definitely Thor from Endgame. I mean, there's no denying who this is. Some people don't care for this Thor. I love it. So he's not big and muscular. So he's got a gut. So he has a beard. So he's given up on some things. Been there, done that. And Hasbro did a good job of realizing this in plastic form. This fits my mental image of what Thor looked like in Endgame. I love the stripes on the pants. They look a little bit ragged. They look a little bit worn, but that's the way they were. There's even croc detail down on the feet. The hoodie look is brought across with these straps right here. The pocket on the front that looks like it reaches through. The bagginess of the sleeves down to the cuff. I'm not sure about the short sleeve robe though, but I'm not a robe kind of guy. Maybe they make those. But even there you get a little detail up at the top, and then just the way it hangs, coming down between the legs a little bit, it totally works for me. And even then, there's a separate piece for the belt coming down and around, hanging down, but it doesn't look out of place. It looks like it's part of the sculpt. Like we talked about, the hood is a separate piece, and the hair being just soft enough to come down over it without getting in the way. When I first popped the head on, some of the hair went into the hood, but as I turned it, it popped out, and it just looks great. Speaking of the hair, it's got a nice wash on top of it. The sculpt brings across that, well, I said washed. It looks unwashed. You know what I mean? They did a good job of conveying that. Then you get to the beard. There's some sculpted detail, but it doesn't seem as nicely defined as the hair. And I cannot get the sunglasses to sit straight, which, I don't know. I guess that kind of fits where Thor is at this point. Does he care if the sunglasses are crooked? Nope. To hell with it. But my own preference is for those suckers to be straight. But if you don't care for the sunglasses look, here's Thor without the sunglasses. Nice eye sculpt. The likeness is pretty good. You see the scar on both of them. There's even a difference in color to the eyes. But if you don't want to use this head on this figure, it actually works over here if you want to customize, you know, braid the beard, add a gut, whatever. We also get a Stormbreaker with this Thor. It's a little bit more accurate than the first one we got. It's a little bit smaller. It's a little bit cleaner to the handle, or Groot arm, or whatever you want to call it. I think this one's a little bit more accurate. I forgot to even mention the fingerless gloves on the hands. These are unique for this Thor, but you also get an alternate left hand, and that has the time circuitry gauntlet glove thing or whatever. He still has his fingerless gloves on under it, and the blue paint is just a little bit sloppy there. But from a distance, or from him wearing it, that completely works. Articulation is a hinge at the top of the neck with a ball. It's a little, well, not really. It actually looks up better than some of the figures. Down, beard kind of gets in the way. One of the nicer tilts in the wave. Swivel, arm hinges up, swivels around. Double elbow, but that red sleeve gets in the way, stops right there. Even feeling unworthy, he still has an up and down hinge so he can hold his weapon. Swivel. Ball in the mid-torso, which is mostly swivel. Not a lot of crunch, a little bit of arc back, a little bit of tilt, a little bit of tilt. There is rotation at the waist. Ball coming out to the hip, comes up to there. Back, kind of gets caught by the robe. Out. Again, one of the better of the wave. Swivel at the thigh, swivel at the knee, and comes up to about 90, which is, I get, okay. And the pants come down over the foot enough to where it kind of gets in the way there. Look, there's foot under there. Forward, not a lot. Back, not a lot. Forward facing pin for a little bit of rocker. Size-wise, Thor stands at 6 5/8. Here he is with a couple of older Marvel Legends Thor from, I think it's Infinity War and then Ragnarok. You can see he's shorter than those Thors, but I think that's Hasbro actually fixing the scale on Thor. Like I said, I've always thought of these as kind of too tall. Because here he is with the Mezco Thor, which I said earlier is closer to his actual size, and then, one more time, the Endgame Captain America. And then Valkyrie and Heimdall from this wave. I feel like this is the size Thor should have been all along. So at the end of the day, I started this review saying, there's only one new character here, the rest are just kind of rehashes. I kind of like most of the updates here. Iron Man is different enough from previous Iron Mans to make it worth a get. But you could say the same for Valkyrie in a new look, but this is a complete upgrade all the way around. Her proportions, her scale, the look of her face, perfect upgrade. Heimdall's our new character in this wave, but he gets a hard candy shell of a cape that kind of blocks a lot of his action. But even then Hasbro did the genius thing of adding the sword sheath, or the sword mount, on the back, and he just has an awesome presence standing with the rest of the figures. Iron Patriot, another good upgrade. I dig big armored characters, so there's nothing wrong with getting another one in completely different colors with resculpted parts. And if it makes it more accurate, then I'm all for it. Build-A-Figure Thor, like I said, I like this version. I love it. They went in a direction I didn't expect them to go. They surprised me. But for those of you who don't like it, I'm sure he'll be back to status quo before you know it. Personally, I'm overjoyed to have a plastic representation of that character arc for him. Vision, if you missed out on the 2-pack, then you need a Vision for your shelf. This'll do, but I definitely don't like it as much as the first one. But it's surprisingly, even though this Captain America is 100% reuse, I like this better than the original figure. I don't know if it's the muted colors or they did something to the feet that makes it a little bit more stable, the bigger shield. Something about this is just doing it for me. I can't help it. So I was excited about the wave when I pre-ordered. When I opened the box, I thought, well, this is a bunch of redos and But then I get them out of the package and most of these are going to go on the shelf. Well, Iron Man, I never know what to do with Iron Man. There's so many imports and different versions and different flavors, and I don't know. That figure may be a little bit big, but the rest of them, well, okay, Vision may go in the bin. The rest of them, besides those two, definitely going on the shelf. I may be a sucker for Marvel Legends, yes, but these are all good-looking action figures. So if you like the review, comment, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the Fwoosh.